The phone rang at 3:17 a.m., and before the sound even finished echoing through the room, I knew something was wrong because I had been awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, waiting for it. I always waited for it. The first time it rang, weeks ago, it startled me out of a deep sleep. Back then, I didn't know fear could arrive so precisely, so methodically. I thought it was a wrong number, maybe a drunk caller, maybe some automated scam dialing at random hours. I silenced the phone and rolled over, annoyed more than afraid, but the next night it rang again. Same time, 3:17 a.m. And the night after that, and the night after that. By the fourth night, I stopped pretending it was coincidence. I would wake up at 3:15, my heart already racing, my body tense, listening to the silence stretch tighter and tighter until right on schedule the ringing began. The caller ID never showed a name, never even showed a real number. Just a dead string of digits that looked unfinished, like the phone itself didn't know how to display it properly. Every morning, the call sat in my log like a bruise I couldn't explain. On the fifth night, I answered. I don't remember deciding to do it. My hand just moved. The line opened to silence, so complete it felt heavy, pressing against my ears. Then I heard breathing, slow, controlled, unmistakably human. A voice finally spoke, barely louder than a whisper. Don't turn on the kitchen light. My stomach dropped. I hadn't moved. I hadn't even thought about getting up. But the moment the words landed, I realized my hand had been inching toward the lamp beside my bed. I froze. "Who is this?" I whispered. The breathing stopped. The call ended. I spent the rest of the night sitting upright, every muscle locked, listening to the apartment breathe around me. The hum of the refrigerator, the distant traffic outside, the faint tick of the clock inching toward morning. Nothing else happened. No footsteps, no doors opening. By sunrise, exhaustion dulled the fear enough for doubt to creep in. I told myself I'd imagined the voice. The phone rang again the next night. 3:17 a.m. This time the voice didn't pause. Lock the bathroom door. Now, there was urgency in it. Panic, barely restrained, and something else, certainty. I ran. I barely managed to turn the lock before I heard the sound that made my blood run cold. The soft, deliberate click of my bedroom door opening. Footsteps followed, slow and careful, as if whoever was there was listening just as hard as I was. I slid down against the bathroom wall, shaking, phone clutched in my hand. The voice stayed with me, whispering instructions. When to breathe, when to stay perfectly still, when to move away from the door because whoever was outside had leaned against it, testing the lock. Minutes stretched endlessly. At some point, the footsteps retreated. A door opened, closed. The voice whispered, "Wait 5 more minutes." Then the call disconnected. I didn't call the police. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't even leave the apartment the next day. I checked every room, every window, every lock. Nothing was missing. Nothing was disturbed. It was as if no one had ever been there. That should have made me feel safer. It didn't. The calls continued. Every night, 3:17 a.m. The voice learned my routines before I realized I had them. It warned me which lights would give me away, which floorboards would creak, which corners of the apartment stayed darkest. It knew the loose latch on the back window, the vent that rattled when someone passed too close, the exact second when hiding was safer than running. I stopped sleeping altogether. I lived in the narrow space between fear and anticipation, waiting for the ring, needing it, because the nights it didn't come terrified me more than the nights it did. On the 8th night, I finally asked the question that had been burning in my throat. How do you know all this? The breathing on the other end became uneven. Then the voice said, "Because I didn't listen. My chest tightened. Listen to what? A long pause. To myself, something in the tone made my skin prickle. Who are you? The answer came so quietly I almost missed it. I'm you, I laughed. I had to. The sound cracked and echoed strangely in the bathroom. But the voice didn't react. It simply started telling me things no one else could know. Childhood memories, old fears, the dream I used to have where I was always running down the same hallway, always just a step too slow. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. The next morning, I searched my call history more carefully than ever before. This time, the dead number wasn't dead anymore. It was attached to a police database. The report didn't exist yet. The date was 3 days in the future. Cause of death, multiple stab wounds. Time of death, 3:18 a.m. I stopped answering the phone after that. I turned it off at night, I unplugged it, I left it in another room. None of it mattered. At 3:17 a.m., it rang anyway, vibrating through the apartment like a pulse. On the final night, I answered with tears already streaming down my face. "This is it," the voice said. It sounded exhausted. "Older. When he enters, don't hide." I hid. "You have to run." My throat tightened. "What happens to you?" The voice hesitated, then let out a soft, broken laugh. "I already know how this ends." A crash echoed from the living room. Footsteps rushed toward me, fast, now reckless. "Go," the voice urged. Now I ran. I didn't grab my keys, I didn't grab my shoes, I just ran. The phone slipped from my hand and skidded across the floor, still connected. As I burst out into the street, gasping, shaking, I heard the voice one last time through the open line. "Thank you for answering this time." The call disconnected. The phone never rang again. The police found someone else in my apartment that night. They never found the body in the report. But sometimes, when I wake up at 3:17 a.m., my phone vibrates once just enough to remind me, and I wonder how long it will be before someone else starts waiting for the call.